Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to see everybody. I know that you're all muted. I just want to let you know that our wonderful, I see Jonas from Germany. Lovely. And Renee, this is very exciting, guys. So just know that I'm really, really happy to see everybody here. You're muted now, but trust me, we're going to have time to talk later. Okay. It's just that we have a lot of, Ken from Colorado. And I see Avi and Sherry and Billy and Michal. I mean, if I miss somebody, please forgive me. Lenovo, I don't know who I'm looking at the Lenovo computer here, but it's very, very wonderful to see you folks. I see Nancy in California and Vicky. Hello, guys, and the Bradburns and Marsha. This is so exciting. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I wanted to have an opportunity to say hello.
Make sure they see you. Ask if they see you.
Do you see me, everyone? Just nod your heads.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. Janice is with us. Gil Rose from Georgia. It's so great to see you. And Debbie, I see Debbie, my partner who studies Arabic with me, and Joelle and Judy, and my sister Shugi in California. This is so cool. Okay, and I see Shoshana. What a treat to see you. And I see my dear daughter and granddaughter, Sari, Aravan Tahara, Alan Ziegler, Carol Goldberg. I see Phyllis and Shirley. Shirley, are you still, just nod or go like this? Are you still in are you still in quarantine? I hope you're out soon. And hello, Belle, and hello, Naaman, and Mike, and Diane, and Janet, and Nikki, and Lorraine. This is so exciting. Somebody has listed as Percepto. I can't really, Nancy, is that you? I think that's you, Nancy, and Modi'in. And I see Adele and Yaakov. Wonderful to see you guys. And Elaine, I don't see Ellie, but I see Elaine and Carol and Shifra and Efrat. Efrat, I don't see you. I would love to see your face if you're willing to show your face on camera. It's very exciting for me to see you all, guys. And I see Eitan and Adriana, whose face, hello, Efrat. This is lovely. Dina has made it. And Joel Baruch and Joni and Vivi and Phyllis and Carol. If I don't mention you all, it's because I see my brother David is here. And I think the Malchiors, if you can turn on your video, I would love to see you. And Rivka and Carol. Well, guys, first of all, I see Kathy from Minnesota and Rolinda. If I haven't mentioned your name, guys, just please forgive me. We've got so many people joining. I see, I think I saw Sharon and Carolyn and Kenny and Karen. Kenny and Karen, please show your faces if you can, or later if you prefer later. Okay. Well, this is lovely. We've got 74 participants online. I want to first start by just doing, and I don't know if you can see my dear husband, Alan, over here, Alan's face as well. Hopefully you can. My son Ezra is behind taking care of all of the technical stuff, and I wanted to say thank you very much to him for handling the tech stuff, which is not my strong point. And just a few housekeeping things. You've noticed that you're all muted at this point, and that's because we've had experience with having a lot of people in a Zoom. It starts to get really crazy. So just to let you know, we will definitely have time to chat afterwards. We've got some special people here today that I, of course, also like to introduce you to. And just a couple of technical things. Should we have problems with connectivity? Because that can happen now, especially with COVID and so many people on Zoom meetings. So please know that what you can do is send a message to my WhatsApp, and I'm going to give you the number now. And if we have to go to a hotspot, then just be patient. It may take us a minute or so to get back with a hotspot, but be patient, we'll be with you. So if you have a problem with connectivity, or for some strange reason, you lose the connection, don't worry, you go in with the exact same link. You will not need a new link. So my WhatsApp, if you're having any kind of issues, is 052-563-8988. And just to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, as I said, for those of you that joined a little bit later, we're going to have time to chat afterwards. There will be time to ask questions, to make comments. The way it's going to work tonight is I'm going to start by showing you a little slideshow so you get a little virtual tour, a little taste of the Israel Trail. I'll explain to you a little bit about the process of the writing of the book, a bit about its structure, because it's kind of an unusual structure of a book. I'm going to read you a couple of excerpts, and then we'll have time to make some introductions to some wonderful people we have tonight. I'm hoping that some of the trail angels will be joining us, some of the folks that hosted us. And if some of you later would like to make comments, Belle, if you could please turn off screen sharing. Belle, could you turn off your screen sharing, please? Okay, we're seeing Belle, who's got screen sharing on. And if you could turn that off, that would be great. Okay, so just to let you know a little bit about why I decided to do the book launch today. It's a very special date for Alan and Ezra and myself, because today, the first day of Chol HaMoed, October 4th,
Chol HaMoed Sukkot.
Chol HaMoed Sukkot, for those of you that don't speak Hebrew, that's the Feast of the Tabernacles. It was exactly 11 years ago today that Alan, Ezra, and myself started hiking the Israel Trail at Kibbutz Dan in the north. So
It also was Sunday.
it was a Sunday, meaning the Gregorian and Hebrew calendars matched up, which is extremely unusual. And I decided that that was a sign, that special synchronicity was a sign that I was meant to do a virtual book launch on this day. Originally, I was going to do an in-person launch, and then, as some of you know, those of you in Israel definitely know this, and many of you who are reading the news know that, unfortunately, Israel has gotten very hard hit. We went from being one of the countries that was doing the best in the first wave of the COVID virus, and now, unfortunately, we're one of the worst. But in some strange way, the timing, I find the timing very interesting and very poignant, because this being the holiday of Sukkot, where we celebrate in these fragile, fragile shelters, I think it's powerful and meaningful to think about the fact that this is the day that we started, and we needed a lot of faith to begin, because we had no idea whether we were going to finish the trail together. And secondly, there's something about being in this flimsy structure of a sukkah that forces one to develop faith in a power stronger than yourself. And we're certainly in challenging times right now. These are difficult times for so many people. I know it's hard for the folks that are in lockdown, that are in quarantine, that are sick. I want to offer up my prayers to anybody who is suffering. I want to just ask all of us, to say a collective prayer, to take a moment for all of those that are having difficult times during COVID. As I mentioned, Israel is going through particularly difficult times, and other countries seem to be following in our wake. But the story that I'm going to share with you today is really one about faith, about courage, and about hope. And that's one of the major reasons it was so important for me to get the book out now to the public, because I hear day in and day out how many people are despairing, how many people are just filled with negativity and fear and concern and despair. And the story of hiking the trail is really, and as many of you know, we hiked on behalf of charity, on behalf of the Israel ALS organization, which was the disease that Alan's mother, my mother-in-law Lee, died from. And we met astounding people along the way who really inspired us and renewed our sense of hope, and caused me, and Alan and Ezra, if they choose to, can speak for themselves later, it caused me to fall back in love with the country. Now, I always loved Israel, but I fell back in love with the country as a result of hiking the trail. So in a moment, we're going to take a little virtual tour. So hold on a second, folks. Bear with me. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to take you along for a little ride. And here we go. Okay, so that's the cover of the book for those of you that haven't gotten the book yet. And here we begin. This is Alan and I. The sign says, this is the beginning of the Israel Trail. And Alan and I are standing at Kibbutz Dan, Beit Usishkin to be exact, which is a museum in the north. Just for those of you who aren't familiar, people can hike the trail from the northern part of the country or from the southern part of the country. which would be by the Taba border in Eilat. But it all depends on the season in which you're hiking. And because we started, as I mentioned, in the fall, then you want to be heading away from the rains, which are more in the north. So as I said, we began here. You can't see our packs on us yet, but we were soon to be donning our packs and realizing how heavy they were, how unused we were to backpacking. Okay, so today the trail is 1,025 kilometers long. When we hiked it, it was about 1,000. They've changed the route a little bit since we hiked it 11 years ago. Now here's an interesting statistic. On average, about 4 out of 10 people complete the whole trail, somewhere between 3 and 4. So us being 3 hikers, the fact that we were able to complete the trail, we were going against the statistics. I'm very fortunate to have each other. And one other interesting thing about the trail, it is considered one of the top 20 trails in the world, according to the National Geographic. And it is quite, I hope some of you will have the opportunity, those of you who haven't yet hiked any parts of the trail, I hope that you get an opportunity to do so. It's an incredible, incredible long distance trail because the scenery, as you're going to soon see, varies widely in this tiny, tiny country. Okay, so all kinds of people hike it. You see, this is a picture of 2 young Israelis with Israeli flags on the back of their packs. We met many, many young Israelis, mostly post-army, some of them pre-army who hiked the trail. This is a rite of passage for many of them. And though many Israelis, after they finish the army, go abroad, the ones that we met said to us with a smile, well, before I go abroad, I want to get to know my country better. And we thought that was very sweet. Okay, this was a group of older folks. I'm laughing at it because the truth is at that point, they're probably the age that Alan and I are now. And they were hiking the trail together. And we were astounded at their pace. When we first saw them in the distance, these orange spots, it seemed like they were going so fast that we thought, wow, I wonder if those people are actually biking the trail. But no, they were walking, they were backpacking just like us, but at a far faster pace. You also find people that bike the trail, like this fellow that we met on the beach by the Mediterranean. And we called this group the hunks. The hunks, and what would you call the women, Alan?
The hunkettes.
The hunkettes. We met them on the second day, I believe it was, correct? And speaking of pace, they were laughing because they were actually slower than we were. They're in far better shape, as you can see, but they did the trail much more slowly than we did, taking their time to rest.
They did the trail between coffee breaks.
Yeah, that's what they said. It was between coffee breaks and food breaks, but they were lovely. And they were the first people to spontaneously give us money on the trail when they heard about our trek. So we have a very warm spot in our hearts for them, the hunks and the hunkettes. And these 2 women are the Finns, we call them, Hannah and Sonia. Interestingly enough, they started the trail the same time that we did. And though we had a break of about 9 days in the middle for Alan's work, he had a group that he was guiding. We don't know exactly how this happened, but we ended the trail with Hannah and Sonia, and we're still in contact with Hannah to this day. She is a true lover of Israel. She's an incredible Hebrew speaker. She teaches people Hebrew. So that's part of the joy of the trail, that you get to meet such wonderful, interesting people. Okay, I mentioned an incredible range of scenery. So what you're seeing here is, I believe this is, that could have been Tzivon.
Nachal Amud.
1 minute. Okay.
This is Nachal Amud.
That is Nachal Amud, Alan thinks, maybe by the Sechvi pools. You can see there's a lot of dense and beautiful foliage. Here you see a waterfall, which is there. Water is scarce in the country, but if you're going to find it at all, you're going to find it more in the north. This was a tiny, beautiful little waterfall that we enjoyed with a spring nearby. This, of course, is the Mediterranean Sea at sunset. And as you see here, I am hiking right through the middle of Tel Aviv. The trail does not go into Jerusalem per se, but it does skirt the outskirts of Tel Aviv. And there I am walking alongside the road. Desert. The desert was the area that I was most afraid of, but it ended up being one of the most magnificent parts of the trail itself. More desert scenery. one of the canyons that we went through. And the challenges. So as I mentioned to you, we started hiking in October. And first we got slammed by incredibly hot weather, a horrible khamsin. Khamsin is an Arabic word for these hot winds that blow through from the south. And it actually ruined our visibility for about a week straight. And people were melting in all parts of the country. And we dealt first with the incredible heat. And as you see here, then the rains hit. Now we're trekking through, you see what looks like a river. This is by the Mediterranean. You're not supposed to be seeing a river here. What you should be seeing instead is sand. But there was so much rain that fell, so much flooding, that as you can see, I had to at some point, you can't see it here, but I had to haul my backpack up above my hips because at some point I was hiking up to my hips in water. Being the short person that I am, I'm not even 5 feet tall. For those of you that don't know feet, that's less than 1.5 meters, about 1.47 meters. Okay, now here I'm going to try to point this out to you. You see here this little tiny sign. It's very hard to see, but it's the classic iconic sign of the Israel Trail. It's white, blue, and orange. The white standing for the north, the snows of the Hermon, the blue standing for the seas, the Mediterranean, and the orange stands for the desert sands. Now, here, we're standing on the other side of this gushing, raging torrent, but normally there would have been no water here at all. But the rains were so intense and there was such horrible flooding going on all along the coastal area that it turned an area that should have been just a dirt path into this. And as you will read in the book about my own foolishness, I actually thought for a moment that we could cross this. And Alan, in a remarkable moment, said, sure, if you want to die. Because of the flooding and the rains, as you can see, these are Ezra's feet, coated, his shoes, his hiking boots are coated with mud. We felt on one particular day hiking along the Yarkon River as if we had stumbled into a jungle in Vietnam or Cambodia or somewhere very, very muddy. It was intense, and a part of the trail that should have taken us about 1.5 hours took us 5 hours. It was exhausting and depressing. And there's Alan. I believe that is in the desert, wearing his rain gear. I can't tell what your mood was. You don't look too happy, Alan. We did hit some intense rain also in the desert. And as you see, I'm going to again point this out. This is a typical desert trail. You can see how barren it is, and there's me up ahead. This was often the case, that Alan was holding up the rear and I was going up ahead.
Thanks, dear.
Only because, no, I want to say because Alan was willing to carry the heaviest weight of all of us. You were carrying, I think, about 22, 23 kilos, which is a tremendous amount of weight. I, in comparison, was probably carrying about 14, 15. And as you see, there goes the trail off into the distance as you follow my cursor. So that was intense hiking, but very, very beautiful as well. There were lots of times where we had to climb up. Ezra on one of the ropes. And you can see this lovely, I think this was in Timna Park, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of boulders that we had to traverse. Again, climbing up. I think there I'm giving Alan a boost, but usually it was the other way around. And I was getting a boost for my men, thanks to my short legs. Here's Ezra again, crawling up. We often had these climbs using metal rungs in many parts of the country with our backpacks and ropes. And another one of the challenges was there is Alan and I smushed together in our tent. And though you can't see Ezra, he was probably there as well. This was a 3-person tent, very cozy, I must say, very challenging sometimes to be in together as a threesome, because you also have to keep your backpacks in there so that they don't get stolen by human beings and you don't get your food carted off by animals. Other challenge, just exhaustion. It was truly tiring. We would get up at about 5 in the morning, start 4 in the morning, Alan says. I don't think it was quite that early, but we were usually on the trail as early as we could be, around 5:30 or 6 at the latest, because hiking in the winter, you don't have many hours of sunlight. Usually we try to take a midday rest, and there is Alan. You can see he's got a notebook on his lap, always journaling, always taking notes, and then getting a little snooze in. The gifts. So there were challenges, but there were huge gifts. And one of the hugest gifts was growing together as a family, enjoying campfires, making meals together. This is us very close to Eilat, towards the end of the trail. You can probably see, as compared to the first day of the trail, Alan and I have now slimmed down considerably. And the trail was full of unique experiences. That is Alan on a Harley. We ran into a group of about 100 Harley riders at the foot of Mount Meron, at the Mount Meron Field School, on Sukkot, as a matter of fact. This was another incredible experience. You see here in the front in the wheelchair, that is the late Dov Lautman, one of Israel's foremost businessmen who had ALS. And he was also one of the members of the board of the Israeli ALS organization. And thanks to Efrat Karmi, who is the CEO of the Israeli ALS organization, known as Isra ALS, she organized some amazing events for us. And one of them was at the climbing wall in Tel Aviv. And we had an opportunity to meet families and other people who were connected to the ALS organization. And here was another event that was organized by Efrat Karmi. This was a very special half-day tour that we did with Israeli researchers, scientists, who were working on trying to find a cure for ALS. And as you can see,
Say what that means.
and you can see here, the words in Hebrew are Hatikva chazaka me'apachad, hope is stronger than fear. And I'm glad that Alan pointed out and asked me to translate that for you, because actually that motto today seems to be more needed than ever, that hope is indeed stronger than fear. Just a second, folks. I think we might be having a connectivity issue. Is it okay now? Great. So we will continue. Okay. Now this is a funny picture, because we did run into some wildlife on the trail. We heard a hyena at once, never saw it, but heard it. Jackals. But this is a funny picture because Ezra had real eagle eyes. And yet, this chameleon that you see on his hands was probably the only time on the entire trail where I actually spotted this wildlife before Ezra did. And the only reason is because it was right in the middle of the trail and I was in front of Ezra. Okay, another beautiful part of the trail is the scenery. What you're looking at here is the desert. I don't remember exactly where this is. Do you, Alan? I think this was definitely the Arava, but I do think that it's somewhere towards, pretty close to Eilat, actually. Another thing is we mentioned the rains in the north, but the rains in the south are far rarer. And yet we came across an incredible experience, which was huge rains that fell in the south. And here is Nahal Paran, and you can see the water running here. It was actually much deeper the day before, but it's a very unusual thing to see, these desert rains that can turn a wide desert basin into a river. And why is the book called Angels in Tahina? Well, I'll mention the angels part here. We met angels all along the way. Some of them were everyday angels, like this lovely family of Arab farmers that we met with their kids, that when they saw us hiking, you can see the woman's got a bunch of greens in her hand, and she offered us these greens, which I believe she called gora, and on the trail to be gifted with something like vegetables or fruit, fresh vegetables and fruit, was a real joy, and it was delicious. So we're extremely grateful to people like them who would just offer us anything from greens to milk to cold soda to
Cheerios.
Cookies to Cheerios along the way, and also the occasional bottles of water. Other angels. So here on the left, we have Bar and Matana, wonderful, beautiful trail angels who live in Hadera. And here on the right, we have Aya and Elazar Fuchtwanger. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing their names correctly. They live on Moshav Paran with their two beautiful daughters. I don't know how many children they have now, but they took us in. These people opened up their houses incredibly. And here we have a family. This is Hani Bloy and her children. At the time we met her and her husband, who was the Chabad rabbi for all of the South. They took in hikers all the time, especially on Shabbatot. And we stayed with them for 2 nights on over Shabbat in the South. Wonderful, wonderful family, very open, very loving. And here we have Efrat, and I saw that Efrat has joined us earlier. You'll get an opportunity, I hope, to meet her. Efrat is the one, she's taking, you can see a short break here, probably getting ready to have a cup of coffee. Efrat was our angel, our muse day in and day out, who called, who gave us weather reports, who checked in on us, and who made the whole experience so much more delightful. And here, it was thanks to people like all of the ones that I mentioned, Alan and I and Ezra, who you don't see in this picture, we made it all the way to the Red Sea, to Eilat. As you see, it was a very, very windy day, but the colors, the extraordinary colors of the Red Sea, the beautiful cobalt blue and aquamarine blue, it was amazing. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to turn off our screen share and come back, and it's lovely to see you all. So now, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the book and read you a couple of short excerpts. When I came back from hiking the trail, I was not like Alan. As you saw, Alan always had a notebook on him. Even when he was sleeping, he had a notebook on his lap. I, on the other hand, was often too exhausted. So when I got back from the trail, I made a point of writing down as much as I could remember. And as I started to write down notes, I realized that there were many lessons that the trail taught me. And as I began to jot down those lessons, I realized that they grew in number more and more and more until I ended up with 18 lessons, which I never anticipated and never expected. Now, some of those lessons were very physical. For example, there is no way I would have finished hiking the trail without hiking poles. No way. They made an enormous difference for me. And then I began to realize that there were people that acted as support in the same way that the hiking poles did for me. And I wouldn't have been able to do what I did on the trail without them. Alan and Ezra and I would not have made our campaign goals. We wanted to raise $36,000 for the Israeli ALS organization. And thanks to the incredible support we received along the way, we actually made it to 40,000. So the book, as I mentioned, this book, Angels in Tahina, contains about 18 lessons. And I wanted to share with you one of the lessons that I still struggle with to this day, which is about savoring the moment and being in the moment. And this is a real tough one for me because I'm often thinking about, like, I'll give you as an example. I found myself a little bit worrying about today about the book launch, projecting into the future how it was going to go. So I often find myself struggling with remembering things from the past or running ahead into the future rather than just being in the moment. So I'm going to read to you 2 little excerpts from this chapter that is called Savor the Moment. In the middle of an afternoon, we followed the Israel Trail as it gently descended from the southern tip of the spine of the Hebron Hills towards a huge barren swath called the Plains of Beersheba and the edge of the northern Negev Desert. Our destination was Tel Arad, a national park. Alan, who had often taken groups there, had received permission from the site supervisor. Again, we're going to wait. From the site supervisor for us to camp inside its perimeters and utilize its facilities. As we walked, Alan explained that this fascinating park encompassed the streets, foundations, and water system of a desert settlement at the bottom of a hill dating back an unbelievable 5,500 years, as well as a conspicuous stone fortress at the top of the hill, the foundations of which dated back to the early Israelite monarchy 3,000 years ago, which included a holy precinct that might have had connections to the structure of the temple in Jerusalem. As we descended the beige, softly undulating slopes, listening to Alan, What struck me as most amazing was the rider on a white horse who seemed to be a mirage as he slowly but steadily loped his way across the brush towards us. As he drew nearer, he warmly greeted us, as if this was an everyday encounter, meeting people in the middle of the desert. He wore a white keffiyeh and had a deeply tanned face, and his horse was a true Arabian. When I asked what he was doing out here, he said that he lived in a nearby Bedouin town, and since it was a fast day and he wasn't working, he decided to go out for a quiet desert ride. Then I saw you all. Today, too many people pass each other without a greeting or stopping to speak. What a shame that is. I never pass up an opportunity to meet and talk with someone. What else is life about? You born, you die, and in between, it is about your relationships with others. He didn't want his picture taken, but when he rode away, his profound words and his self-contained stalwart calmness remained in my mind as we approached Telerad. I asked myself, how many moments with others, even the loved ones I traveled with, had I wasted due to anger, self-righteousness, or just an inner busyness, as these precious days on the trail swept past like the wind? Oh, I appreciated many wonderful moments on the Israel Trail that were easy to enjoy. At the other end of the spectrum, when faced with really difficult situations or tremendous exhaustion, I was, in a sense, forced into awareness of that moment, of the moment, and some were branded within me. So now, I'm going to move for a moment to some of the more challenging moments. So now I'm going to skip ahead to when we were hiking through. You remember that river plain I showed you, the desert that had a stream of water running through it? So that was the Paran River Plain. And after a midday siesta to rest and eat lunch, we continued hiking, heading towards the Paran River Plain. Though it flows only in floods, it is the largest seasonal river in the entire country. And there, a miracle was unfolding. For the recent rains had transformed the vast, flat pan into a weave of flowing streams, the water deep enough to reach mid-calf. Watermarks on the rock showed it would have reached our waists just again. Watermarks on the rocks showed it would have reached our waists just the day before. A chance to play in a river formed by rains that fall at most 2 to 3 times a year was a rare moment and opportunity. I yanked off my shoes and jumped in. But after the briefest of dips, Alan urged us to get going. He was concerned that the afternoon light was fading. A long stint of hiking remained, and we had a food and water cache yet to find. I was unconvinced by the urgency, but he insisted, and I grudgingly complied. Using my hiking poles for balance, I awkwardly stepped onto the submerged rocks, crossing and recrossing the stream multiple times. The sky as we hiked turned a magnificent magenta with trails of indigo and lilac. Again, I wanted to stop and stare. But we needed to reach our food cache near the Tzihor junction before dark. Another magical moment faded along with the light. We reached the main road. Opposite the trailhead was a bus stop. Alan took out the map drawn Indiana Jones style by the driver we'd hired to bury this cache, who had sworn we'd have no problem following his instructions. Alan tried unsuccessfully to match the directions to the landmarks. He reached for the new flashlight and then, in shock, said he couldn't find it. My dear Alan. And I, hungry, tired, frustrated by having been rushed to reach the spot, burst into rage. I could have tutored a sailor in the art of creative cursing. F this situation. How did you lose another effing flashlight? Because mind you, this was the second one he had lost. Alan, feeling like a worm, asked me if I had wanted to stay there and look for our food in the morning, or if I would rather catch a scheduled bus to a nearby ashram where there were mattresses and showers. I screamed that he could effing figure it out for himself. Ezra and Alan decided we should stay put, given how exhausted we were, and began setting up the tent about 50 meters from the bus stop, kicking aside pellets of animal dung that were piled everywhere. But adding insult to injury, suddenly we heard voices. Goni and her group, mind you, this is another group of hikers that had started the trail around the same time as us. Goni and her group had been waiting in the Paran for hours and would now catch the bus to the desert ashram. Just then, the bus approached in the dark. They boarded, laughing, and the bus drove away. It was like being marooned on a desert island and watching the rescue boat sail away. I sat down in the dirt, too tired and miserable to move. They would have hot showers, great vegetarian meals, and drink chai tea, lovingly prepared by people who cooked with consciousness. I, on the other hand, furious with Alan, too tired to eat, could not appreciate this moment of sitting on a hill of feces. We squeezed side by side on our mats. Ezra, the mature one, assured us that one day we'd laugh about this experience and that the best travel stories involve pain, problems, and discomfort. The following morning was cold, but my mood had improved. When Ezra realized that Alan had not oriented the map properly the night before, I felt understanding, even forgiving, though Alan just felt worse. As Ezra led them off in the opposite direction, I broke down camp. They returned with a ripped green garbage bag. From 3 days worth of supplies we had buried there, there remained 2 foil pouches of palak paneer. Okay, those of you that don't know, that's delicious Indian food. A package of Trader Joe's dried bananas, 3 sandy tooth-punctured boxes of Good Earth tea, and an empty cracker packet neatly torn along its perforated lines. But I was delighted that at last I would taste the Indian food I had dragged all the way from the United States. I wrote a note to myself: release expectations, increase joy. I have to say, Ezra was right, because I can laugh about it, but I guarantee you that at the time, I wasn't laughing at all.
You
So-
should mention I did find a flashlight.
Alan did later find the flashlight. That is true. So hold on here. We're going to now, those of you who I don't see, feel free to turn your videos back on so I can see your smiling faces. I wanted to share with you just a couple of other things about the timing of this evening and some people that are really important to me to mention. So first of all, I want to mention my dear husband here. Hopefully you can see Alan's face. Can you see him? If you turn your videos on, folks, then I'll be able to see, hopefully. I'm not seeing people right now. Okay. But I want to mention Alan because he was indispensable help to me. He was the one responsible for the final edit. But I also want to say that early on, he was very supportive of the structure of this book because, as I said, it's not your typical travelogue. It is not chronological. It's quirky. It's structured around 18 lessons. And yet, from the beginning, Alan said to me, hey, you did something that was authentic and true to yourself that other people would not be able to write. So from the beginning, he was very supportive, not just of me on the journey, on the trail itself, but he was very supportive of the journey within the journey, which I call the writing of this book. Now, that's the other funny thing. It took us just over 2 months to hike the trail. And then it took me 10 years on and off to write the book. Isn't that funny the way life goes sometimes? So I'm grateful to Alan, really grateful to him. He, in a sense, was one of my hiking poles. Ezra was my other hiking pole. I'm delighted to say that I can't see, but I did notice, I hope my 3 siblings are here. And I want to say to them that they were my early travel partners in life. My older sister Shugi, my older brother David, my younger brother Neil. And I have my parents to thank for that as well, because I grew up with 2 parents who loved nature, who loved traveling, and we would spend. Okay, thank you, Debbie. She's telling me to lower my screen. Just give me a heads up like this, folks, if you can see me a little bit better now. I hope you can. Thank you, Debbie, for that. So my dear parents, Claire and Paul, every single summer when we were kids would take us on road trips through the United States, and I'm indebted to them. I'm really indebted to them for that and for instilling in all of us, all 4 of us children, a love of traveling, a love of nature. My father, by the way, would have celebrated his 100th birthday just yesterday, October 3rd. So thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. And thank you to my siblings. I'm also delighted that not only my son and daughter-in-law are here, but my other daughter and family, Avinoam, and my daughter, Sari, her husband, Avinoam, and my two wonderful granddaughters, Arava and Tahara, are living in Yerucham. And I have to say, I thank my daughter for being the first one to teach me the extremely important lesson of lightening my pack. Because on a very early backpacking trip that we took as a family, she said, "You are carrying way too much gear." And I, playing the role that usually children play with their parents, did not listen to my wise daughter, did not get rid of the things that she recommended I did. And we ended up getting rid of a huge amount of our food on that trip and leaving it by a gas station store. Let me just see who else here. I want to just see if, I know Efrat is here. Efrat, if you could for a moment, please turn on your video so we can see you. Is Efrat here? If we could see Efrat for a moment. Efrat.
I'm here, Tzippi, I'm here.
Oh, Efrat. So I want to introduce you to Efrat because Efrat, as I mentioned, was really indispensable.
Shalom, Efrat.
Is it kef? Is it kef? So Efrat is the one that helped us in so many ways when we were hiking the trail. And we gave her the nickname our fairy godmother because she did act.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. If there's anything briefly that you wanted to say, Efrat, we thank you to this day, and we have such wonderful memories.
I want to thank you for this adventure because I didn't know what we were going into. Remember the first time that we met, you called me and you said, "Oh, we have an idea of hiking the trail and we can meet." And you came to Tel Aviv, and like good people from Jerusalem, you wanted to see the beach. So we sat for coffee on the beach in Tel Aviv. And I think in that moment, I just fell in love with both of you. And we did some crazy stuff together.
We
and
did.
I thank you for your dedication, and I thank you for your cooperation and working with me and listening to all my crazy ideas. And we had fun. We had lots of fun.
We did.
And I'm honored and privileged to know you and Ezra and be part of this amazing adventure. So thank you. And thank you for coming back now with a book and still helping our organization and the ALS patients in Israel. So I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Efrat. And is Arnon here? Arnon, if you are here, if you could turn on your camera, I would be very grateful. I don't know if you are here, Arnon, because there's many, many people on the list. I'm looking. Okay. I'm not seeing Arnon. But I do want to mention Arnon briefly. Arnon had mentioned that he was going to try to make it tonight. Arnon was part of an organization called Give Together, which I believe you founded, Efrat, and they were one of the early crowdfunding platforms. I think one of the first ones in Israel, and they did a tremendous job of helping us get the word out about the campaign. Also, I believe Kenny and Karen Nagin are here tonight. Am I right? Kenny and Karen, if you're willing to put on your camera.
Yeah, we're here. There are the cameras on.
Okay. So Kenny and Karen are dear friends of us that live on Moshav Hoshaya. And they were sweet enough to join us with two of their kids on the very, very first day. And I was very grateful to them for joining us. And I was especially grateful to, I believe it was your daughter, who was willing to take my backpack for half of that first day as I was struggling under the weight to adjust it. And then Kenny and Karen were kind enough to host us for our, what was it, our second Shabbat, I believe, on the trail. After we had hit that incredibly hot spell of weather. So we're very grateful to you. And I just want to say that Kenny and Karen, to this day, are trail angels. Am I right?
Yeah, yes.
They decided to sign up and become trail angels. And is there anything you wanted to share about that experience?
just it's great to be a trail agent.
And
Train
you
into
meet the
it.
cream of the crop of the young people in Israel.
It's really amazing, some of the people we meet. It's good. They're really nice seeing them. That's
So
all.
it sounds like it's a two-way street because we fell in love with the trail angels that we met, and I'm hearing that you fell in love sometimes with the hikers that you met.
And we love the trail too. We do sections of it all the time.
That's right. And Kenny and Karen have actually joined us on parts of the trail, and other trails that are not the Israel Trail itself, which is lovely. Thank you, guys. It's wonderful to
Okay.
see you. And I also have to say that Kenny and Karen they joined us for the very first day, and they also joined us for a very special Israel ALS event that happened right after the trail at Kibbutz Yagur, a big musical
Yeah,
event. That
Yagur.
was the closing event, and you were there for that as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special. You acted as our bookends. Okay. Thanks, guys. Is Debbie Vered here? Debbie, if you're here and you're willing to turn on your computer, excuse me, your video. I don't see Debbie yet, but I see Yael Kasten is here. And Yael, would you be willing to turn on your video and unmute yourself? Yael? Mishpachat Kasten?
Annette, here we are. Here I am.
I see your
Me.
face. So Yael and Aryeh and their wonderful family hosted us on Moshav Aderet. And we had the pleasure we really fell in love with this family. And then we had the good fortune, the following, how much longer was it afterwards? Just 1 year.
1 year.
1 year after that, Ezra ended up going to it's like a gap year program. Those of you who are from the States don't know the name. 1 second. Okay. Sometimes the computer freezes and I want to make sure that you can hear me. So the following year, Ezra went to what's called a Mechina, which is like a gap year program, a year that sometimes young Israelis will go on before the army. It's kind of a leadership training. And they assign a family to adopt them. And he was told when he arrived, Ezra, there's a family here that has requested you. And of course it was the Kastens. And all I can say is, one of the reasons I would love for you, those of you who haven't yet bought the book, that I would love for you to buy it, is that you have an opportunity to get to meet some of these incredible people, like the Kastens, like the Nagans, like so many people. They are true angels, and this country is full of angels that have become our friends. That, you told me, Yael, I shouldn't call you guys angels, but I'm sorry, you are angels to me. But first and foremost, you are our friends to this day. And every time we speak, it's as if we've picked up the phone. It could be a few years, but it's as if we've spoken just yesterday. Okay. I see Carol is having to leave, unfortunately. Carol from the States. Yael, mamash, mamash, mamash toda. מקרב ליבנו.
תודה לכם. Yeah, Angel is a funny name when I hear it. I feel it just an opportunity to be Adam le'Adam in a very simple way of having each other and having lots of fun together. And well, it lasts for many years. And with Ezra, we had a beautiful year, and it was a good chance to keep on enjoying together. And I have to say that the passion you talk about, the shvil, and it's not a gram less than you talked about when we met you in the rainy day while you were doing the shvil, and it's an inspiration. It's great having you as friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to check if Bar and Matana are here tonight. I think I may have seen them on the list. Bar, Matana, אם אתם שם, אני גם כן מאוד מאוד אשמח. אם אתם יכולים לפתוח את הוידאו שלכם, בר ומתנה. Alan, hello. I see Alan from California, from Philadelphia. בכפר במתנה, אתם נמצאים? Okay. Alex and Ayelet from Jerusalem, originally from Midreshet Ben Gurion. אתם נמצאים?
הנה.
הנה. Oh! So I want to introduce this lovely family to you. This is Alex and Ayelet, who we met on the trail down at Midreshet Ben Gurion. And it was delightful. It was our Thanksgiving weekend. I will never forget.
I want to say hello to Ayelet.
Yavi! Hello!
Ayala and I were in a theater group together many years ago.
נכון.
I was at their wedding. Danny Siegel married them in הר הצופים.
נכון.
מה שלומכם?
וואו. ברוך השם, איזה כיף להתראות בכאלה מסיבות.
Wonderful. Wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see you.
Afterwards, so we'll have a little.
Happy here for you.
I did want to tell everybody else that's listening in a little bit about Alex and Ayelet, because they also have a very special place in our heart. As I mentioned, we were there for, now you guys are sideways. I don't know what happened. I'm going to look at you like this.
וואו.
They disappeared. They disappeared for a moment. But even though we can't see their video, hopefully they'll come back on video.
Okay.
So Alex and Ayelet, they lived in very small student housing, a tiny little apartment, and yet they functioned as trail angels. And maybe you can share with folks, Alex and Ayelet, what your record was, because you have to picture a very, very, very small studio apartment, or maybe it had one small bedroom. I can't really recall. But I remember being astounded when you told me how many hikers you would actually once hosted in your place. Can you share with us? Alex and Ayelet have disappeared. I believe it was something. Ayelet?
Sorry, my phone broke. We are back here in the computer.
So can you just share with people what that was like and how many your record was for hosting in your little student housing at the time? They live in Jerusalem now, by the way.
You remember everything.
Oh, it was amazing. As other people said, it was really a privilege, and being able, one of the things we loved most about living in Savoring, it was the fact that we could host people, and you really meet amazing people that are doing the trail. And I remember very well you and Ezra and Alan. It was really amazing to see a family doing the trekking together, and really an inspiration. I hope we'll also be able to do as a family in a few more years when our kids grow up, the trail together.
Well, thank you so much, guys. And it was such a pleasure to be hosted by you in Savoring. I just want to say a little bit about the Trail Angels. For those of you that don't know, Trail Angels are simply wonderful people that are spread all through the country. Israel has about 450 to 500 Trail Angels that I know of. And they take in people out of the goodness of their hearts for free, offering them places to sleep, sometimes meals, certainly showers if they have an opportunity to do so. And we really met the cream of Israel's crop that way, which is one of the reasons why I want to thank all of you that pre-purchased the book as part of the campaign, because thanks to you folks, I've been able to, I haven't sent them all out yet, but I will be able to send out at least 50 books to Trail Angels. So we're talking about already, I have the opportunity to send out to approximately 10% of the population of Israel's Trail Angels, and hopefully more in the future. I also want to take this moment to thank the readers here, all of you people that have purchased the book and have begun reading the book, because I do want to say that you've made my dream possible. Alan as a writer and myself as being a brand new newbie author, there's something so touching about having somebody connect with you and read something that you've written and tell you that they've touched you. Because I know this experience myself as a reader, and so I'm grateful beyond measure to all of you who have shared your comments with me, who have told me about parts of the book that have moved you. I really have no words. It's like a dream come true. It really is. So I also want to take a moment to say that we also have Nancy Keller here. And Nancy, I just want to, you don't have to turn on the video, but I do want to say Nancy was the proofreader for the book and I'm very grateful to her as well. I want to just turn the floor over just for a moment to my dear husband, Alan, because as I mentioned earlier, he had both a very important role on the trail. He was one of my hiking poles, Ezra was the other one, and he acted as my hiking pole through the whole process of writing. So what would you like to share with people, Alan?
Well, I want to make this very fast because this is Tzippi's night. I'm not sure. I've never been compared to a hiking pole before. I'm not quite have to work that one through a little. There were two adventures, the adventure of the trail with so many different memories, whether it was walking up a hill to the point that I just stopped in exhaustion and moved in increments of 5 steps at a time, or seeing the amazing people from the ALS community, especially a man confined to a wheelchair who taught Torah to prisoners in jail. I mean, this to me, this, as I said in the book, this made that all worthwhile. If that had been the only experience, it would have been worthwhile. To just being with, getting closer to my family, and to Tzippi, who we nicknamed, those of you who have read the book know that her nickname was Adventure McMuffin, because she was annoyingly cheerful and chipper in the morning, and she was already packed and ready to dismantle the tent around us and get going, while I was still sort of clawing my way out of bed, craving a cup of coffee, which never came. And then she was off like a rocket. But the adventure beyond that was the adventure of watching Tzippi write this book, not only showing tremendous perseverance, but finding her own voice, finding her own vision, bringing all her therapeutic and spiritual experience and insights into filtering the experiences in a way that were right for her. And it was amazing to watch, and very touching to read when I could step back and read it as a reader. So I just want to thank my dear wife.
So I don't leave yet, folks. I do want to, I want to share with you, first of all, how you, those of you who haven't yet purchased the book, if you are interested, there are a couple of ways to do so. Those of you that live in Israel, this book here, the print version, you can get by messaging me, by sending me an email, a WhatsApp, a Facebook message, and I ship to anywhere within Israel. Those of you in Jerusalem, if you are within a half a kilometer to me, we're in relative lockdown right now, so if we're close enough, I'm happy to deliver it to you in person. But if not, I can certainly ship it to you. And as I mentioned, my goal is to be able to send out more books to more trail angels. So your support is greatly, greatly welcomed. The other thing is for those of you in the States, there is an ebook that is already up on Amazon. Just look under the name Angels in Tahina. But please, those of you that donated to the campaign from abroad, from Europe or from the United States, please wait for me to send you the link to your ebook, because you've already paid for it. And if you go to Amazon, I don't want you to pay twice. So just be patient. This week, I should be getting out that link to you. Also, hopefully this week, I've just been overwhelmed, as I mentioned, with a lot of logistics and mailing and shipping a lot of books out and delivering books this week. But hopefully this week on Amazon, you will also have 2 other options for print-on-demand books. One of the things I do want to mention is that this book here does have photo inserts. There are 2 photo inserts, a total of about 60 color photographs. So it will be an option to buy this version on Amazon. But that will be quite a lot more expensive than just buying. Also, there is an option for buying a black and white book without the photographs. And I'm hoping, as they say in Hebrew, bli neder, I'm not going to swear to this, but hopefully this week, those will also be available on Amazon to be purchased. I would also like to ask your help. As I mentioned, for me, this book is my love letter to Israel, my love letter to the country, but primarily it's about getting out a message of hope and optimism and faith at a time around the world which is so difficult. And so if you know of synagogues or churches or companies that are, for example, if you know of companies here in Israel that might consider this to be a good, inspiring gift for their employees, please, I would be so grateful if you could put me in touch with them or mention this to them. or if you're connected to a synagogue or a church and you would like for me to speak to you on Zoom, and again, take the members of the congregation on a little tour of the Israel Trail at a time when so many people are not able to travel, I would be more than happy to do that. And you know how to reach me. It can be via WhatsApp, it can be via Facebook, via my email. Any of those things are fine. And know again, every single one of you who has, I want to repeat this for those of you who may have come in late, every one of you who has given me feedback, who has thanked me for the book, who has told me that they found it inspiring, who has shared that either they couldn't put it down or that they're reading it very slowly, kind of bite by bite, piece by piece. Those words really touch my heart. I really have no words. So now I want to open it up to the rest of you here. We have an opportunity for people one by one to unmute themselves, and we can have a little chat together. And it's time, if anybody has questions for me or for Alan, or if you have any comments to make, just let's try to do it one at a time so we don't become like the Israeli Knesset that speaks on top of one another. So I would love to hear from you. Okay, does anybody want to? You will need to unmute yourselves. Thank you very much, Shoshana. Thank you for your good wishes.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Where can we get the book?
So as I mentioned, if you are in Jerusalem, please send me a message. Either I will give everybody my phone number, 052-563-8988, and Ezra will also write that to you in the chat. You can contact me through any of the ways I've mentioned, or you can write to my email, either the tzippi.moss@yahoo or the inneralchemists one. I will write that in the chat to you in a moment. And as I mentioned, in Jerusalem, if you live in the area of Old Talpiot, I'm happy to deliver. If you live somewhere outside of that, then just message me with the question and I will tell you how to purchase it here. I have plenty of books available still. I hope that answers your question, Shra, guys. So just get in touch with me.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tzippi, can I say something?
Absolutely. This is Elaine. And I just have to say, Elaine and I go way back to college together. And we spent a wonderful
first
year living together.
When we made Aliyah, we lived together. And I wanted to prepare myself for this evening so that I was in tune with what was going to be happening this evening. And I started reading the book, and it really is just like sitting for an extended cup of coffee with you. It's funny, it's insightful, it's inspiring. And for someone who myself, I've been doing the Israel Trail with my husband and a couple of friends for the past 14 years, not with a break in between, 14 years. So I'm not writing a book about it, that would take me forever. But I really thank you for doing this, because it is inspiring. It's really a delight. It's just sitting around and schmoozing with you and learning and inhaling that positive attitude that you have. So it's really a treat. I highly recommend it to anybody who's thinking about it. It's really great, really great. So toda rabba.
Thank you, Elaine, mamash. Mwah. Guys, this is an opportunity. Questions, comments. I love being able to see your faces.
Sophia, I would also like to say something. Hello. First of all, Mazal Tov, because I think you managed to bring Israel into our world again after 6 months of feeling disconnected from the country, to suddenly get this gift of a book. I mean, we met last week and you gave me my copy and I just got right into it. And I said, oh my God, barely being out of the city for the last 6 months, I feel like I just got this gift of a travelogue. And that was on one level, to really connect to different parts of the country that I've kind of forgotten about in my daily consciousness. And the other thing about just being very brave and teaching us all about being able to look at our own behavior in times of stress and crisis and uncertainty, and being very honest about that. And that was also incredibly refreshing. and just bringing a different narrative into our world at the moment when we just need a different narrative than just the coping of what we're all coping with. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for just seeing your goal through. And I think that's a lesson for all of us, is actually embracing a passion and seeing our goals through, and the lessons that you're teaching us. And I'm loving the book. I'm already on lesson 15, and just really kol hakavod, and you have a wonderful family, and it's a gift that I've given myself for this Sukkot holiday. So thank you so much, and Mazal Tov.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have to laugh because Nikki was saying, one of the comments that I've gotten from very many people is like, whoa, you dare to be pretty honest. And I kind of felt that if I'm already going to be writing about the experiences of hiking with my family, then I might as well let it all hang out, so to speak, because that was part of my learning from the trail. So I thank you for mentioning that, Nikki.
Right.
Okay. Any questions from anybody else? I mean, like, feel free. This is our time to chat. If anybody has to leave, I understand entirely. But just know it's just a treasure to be able to see you all here.
Tzippi.
Vicky.
Tzippi, I couldn't be more excited or proud of you. And what I love about this, I mean, there's many things I love about it, and I can't wait to dive into my book. But I love your honesty, giving a real picture as opposed to a glamorized kind of picture. I don't mean, you didn't wear your gowns or anything like that, but you know what I mean. It's a very honest and from the heart portrayal of what you all experienced, and I love that. And one other thing I wanted to share, so I'm going to be sharing with the religious education director at the synagogue that I've belonged to for many years. They have a book club, and I couldn't imagine a better book to recommend for that. So I just want to share that idea with people. I think that it would be a really exciting thing for this to spread in synagogues as a way, as a way to teach us all about the Israeli trail and about hope and about all of the things that you represented. So that's all I wanted to say, and I love you, and Mazel Tov, and I couldn't be more excited.
And Vicky is also, she's a friend of mine from graduates. We met each other when we were both in graduate school back in Milwaukee. So it's lovely to see you here. Even though you're way over in the United States, it's a treat. It really is. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Mwah.
Can we ask to meet Ezra? The fact that you were brave enough to take Ezra out of his 12th year of high school was absolutely astounding, as parents of kids who had various experiences in high school.
Never let school get in the way of education.
I couldn't agree with you more.
We said that many times.
Oh. So I just want you to meet.
And Alan, you're asking Ezra where he would be when you were swinging over the river, what class he would be in. I thought that was really very inspiring that you were willing to take him out of that.
I'm kind of glad you brought that up. I don't know, Ezra's behind the scenes, and I don't know if he maybe prefers. Are you willing? Yes? Okay, so Ezra, can you put on your video just for a moment so people can see you? Is that he was a very...
I don't know if everyone can hear and see me.
Not if you can...
Can you guys hear and see me? I think maybe we have some connectivity issues.
Can you hear Ezra? Just Debbie, Tzvi, can you hear and see Ezra or not?
We hear,
no,
but I don't see his video yet.
Okay, would you?
Yeah, can you guys hear and see us now?
No, we can't see you. We can hear you.
Okay. So I prefer to be usually behind the scenes, but because there was a request, I'm happy to engage as well. First of all, what you said about taking a break off during 12th grade to kind of get a real education, as opposed to what they spoon down your throat in 12th grade, was a real experience. And to those who had concerns, I'm studying medicine now, so I guess everything turned out all right, despite taking a slight break. And it was a real experience to be able to see your parents from a different angle. You know, because some kids obviously have like a specific image of their parents for up to a certain point. And during an experience like that, which is kind of like a very, it's like a pressure cooker. So any cracks that are possible will be seen during an experience like that. And it was a very interesting experience and a very powerful experience to have to share that with my parents. And it was really great. And I'm very fortunate that I made the decision. Actually, Avi Hartuv was here. He spoke before. And I was actually, I don't know if Avi remembers, but there was a period where I thought of stopping the trip in order to return to school. And Avi helped me with the process of the decision-making of staying on the trail. And I'm very happy that I chose to get the education on the trail and learn about, you know, the country. And, you know, I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm very happy with that decision.
I remember.
Oh, there's Avi.
I remember we sat on the couch and you were debating, and I said, I don't know if your parents are going to like this, but forget school. The trail. As Tzvi said, don't let schools get in the way of your education. I remember the conversation. You were very mature about it, and at the same time, you understood that what you can do with both with being outdoors in the specific aspects of doing the trail and spending the quality of time with your parents, it was far beyond what you can do in any classroom. So I'm glad you remember that, and we had that conversation, and it's binding us for life. Hi, Nav.
Hi, Avi.
Hello.
Oh, so you do see us. So this is my beautiful wife. I didn't introduce her because I thought that you couldn't see us. And that's it. Back to you, Ima.
So I do want to say one of the things that I think made our trek so unique is that we hiked it as a family. I don't think, certainly it was the case when we were hiking it 11 years ago, and I believe it's the same way today. You see many young people, you see older people that are doing it in sections, sometimes even in one go, but you really do not typically see families. And as Ezra said, it was very challenging at times, but it was also very, very special, and it really brought us together. I see that we have some other folks that actually were able to join us for pieces of the trail, like Oriana and Mark, who I call by another name in the book. It's wonderful to see you here.
I'm sitting in my sukkah in Eugene, Oregon, Modim L'Simcha. I just want to say, well, I wasn't going to talk because I was so emotional, but this is a beautiful presentation. I so wish I was in Israel. And we met you for that piece of the trip in the Negev, and I don't think until watching this evening, that I realized what a huge undertaking it is. You did a wonderful job of describing enough pieces of the trail and what you confronted and the beauty and the challenges. And I'm really looking forward to getting my copy of the book. And just kol hakavod, both for your desire to support ALS in the way you did, and for being able to cull your thoughts and put this together. I think 10 years, I don't think I could have done it in 10 years. And your readings also were just spectacular. I love the image of that desert, and his words, I think, are really words we can all live by.
Oh, thank you so much, Oriana. I do want to mention everybody here, do not feel like this is the section of the evening. So if you want to stay to chat or ask questions, you're more than welcome to. Those of you who have other places to be, please, feel free to, if you have to leave, I will understand.
ציפי?
כן.
ציפי. היי,
Yes.
אלי, ערב טוב, מה שלומכם?
בסדר.
היי, אני ובא מאוד נהנינו לשמוע את ההרצאה שלך, היה באמת מעניין.
תודה.
רואים כמה...
מתן, אני חייבת לתרגם אותך, שנייה, אני חייבת לתרגם אותך. So, you are now bar, כן, אתה צריך להכניס את עצמך לתמונה. I want to introduce you again, this is Bar and Matana Mesika, who live in Hadera. And they are to this day trail angels. They were true angels to us. I am not going to say a whole lot now about them because it's going to encourage you to buy the book. You have to buy the book to read about people like Bar and Matana, because they're such that all of the angels that we met are spectacular, special people. אז אני מקווה שאת הבנת את זה מתנה, אני פשוט אמרתי שאתם כל כך יקרים, שאתם ממש מלאכים, שולחים דמות של אדם.
תודה, היה כיף לארח אתכם גם עם עזרא, היה נהדר, זה היה באמת מאוד מאוד מעניין היה איתכם.
מכל השביליסטים, אתם תפסתם אצלנו איזו פינה מיוחדת בלב. ציפי, אלן ועזרא, היה לנו חוויה נהדרת, קנינו חברים חדשים.
Ani Atargem. So Bar and Matana are so sweet. They were saying that out of all of the hikers that they've hosted over the years, and they have hosted many, in a moment I'm going to ask them if they even know how many. They said that we have a special place in their hearts, and they have a very special place in our hearts too. אז אני רציתי לשאול אתכם, כמה שביליסים אתם חושבים שבמשך השנים אירחתם אצלכם?
מאוד.
מאות.
Wow. So Bar and Matana just said that they have hosted hundreds of people. And I will just say, I am not saying this to plug my book. I am more saying this to plug the incredible people of Israel. I encourage you, if for no other reason, to buy the book. It will inspire you. There's so much division right now in our country, in our little Israel. יש כל כך הרבה הפרדה בין העם שלנו עכשיו. So when you read the book, this is really about bringing unity back into the country and rekindling our hope and faith in the goodness of people and the kindness of people. אני אומרת שמלאכים כמוכם, זה באמת מסמל עכשיו את התקווה שיש אחדות עדיין בישראל, ולא רק הפרדה. So, המון תודות לכם. Thank you so much, Bar Matana. Okay.
Tzippi, I just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Tzippi?
Hi, Joelle.
Hey, I just want to tell you I couldn't put the book down. I finished it already. And it's exactly like what you say. Thank you for bringing us some inspiration and positivity, especially in these days with so much negative around. So just thank you for a beautiful read. I loved it. And I encourage everybody to read it. It was beautiful. I enjoyed every page. Thank you. Besides all the memories that it brought up, but that I'll tell you personally.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And by the way, I just want to say to everybody here, I see that there are some, many of my friends are here. I'm also very delighted to have family here with us. As I mentioned, my siblings, my daughter and her family. And I'm delighted as well to see names that are not familiar to me, new people that are joining. And I hope that we'll get to know each other a little bit, you as the reader and me as a writer, that will connect in a new way. I really hope so. Is there anybody else that has a question or would like to say anything before we wrap up the evening?
I do.
So proud of you.
Oh, this is my dear daughter, Sari, and Avinoam, her husband Avinoam, who's half off screen. Avinoam, אתה צריך להכניס את עצמך לתמונה. And Arava and Tahara. Thank you, guys. Mwah.
Tzippi, this is Trevor Gottsman. Okay, I can hear myself in the background. I'm getting echo, so I'm just going to just say what I want to say and say thank you to Nancy Keller, who you call the proofreader. She has done an immense job, and so she's exposed me to it. I have family in Israel. Israel is a home. When you speak of country, I feel we speak of the globe, of everything, of our connection to Hashem, and so just thank you and keep us connected. Let us keep this process going. This is a wonderful trail you're on now on Zoom. I've got to say, it's a treat to see everybody. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
My turn.
I'm listening, Avi.
Yeah. So, few things to share. Why is there an echo? Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah. So I haven't read the book yet, but I had an amazing, delightful day watching Sherry read it yesterday. She didn't stop commenting throughout the whole day. I don't know if she finished it, but that's the only thing she did yesterday. Basically I would bring her food and drink and she kept reading. And she was just like every few minutes, wow, this is amazing. And it feels so good to read Tzippi's writing, and it's just so intimate and close to me and close to my heart. And it's a wonderful book and wonderful writing. It just did not stop raving about it. And I want to add to that my experience of the book that I have not read yet, but I got a lot of impressions already, is to look at the book a little bit like a kaleidoscope. Meaning that it's not only about the trail and the scenery and the challenges and the gifts in the trail. And it's not only about rekindling the love for the beauty of Israel. And it's not only about reminding us that there is, in this chaotic period of time, there are people who are, how do you say in English, shmorot teva, nature reserves. The people themselves are nature reserves, like the angels you presented to us tonight and you wrote about in the book. There's a major angle in the book, which is the spiritual teachings. And the way you wove it all together, to me, the best way to describe it is a weave or a kaleidoscope of the different gates through which to enter the book. And I haven't read it yet, and I have this impression already. So that's what I wanted to share about my impression. And also I want to share with everybody else that usually when friends of mine write and publish books, or even I get requests from different crowdsourcing, I usually buy 3. One for myself, one to give as a gift, I don't know when and to whom, and one as a loan library that I have, my own loan library. And this time I bought 3 plus 5, giving each one of my kids a Hanukkah present, Tzippi's book, and I think it's like a great idea. Buy your kids Hanukkah gifts.
That's so sweet, Avi. That's so sweet. Well, thank you for sharing that.
I bought 8 of them.
I know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that support. I had seen, was there somebody else? I saw some other faces before. I didn't know if that meant you wanted to speak or not. Because otherwise what we'll do, folks, is I will just send you all love from Jerusalem and wish everybody as positive a time as possible during these challenges time. And just remember, I like what Avi said, that human beings can be nature reserves as well. And you have all been, you've been my nature reserves. You've been my oases. You've been my support and my encouragement. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful. So we'll sign off now. I send you much love and thank you for joining me this evening. Bye. Mwah.
Bye.
Can we see Ezra and Enough one more time?
You want to show your faces one more time? Go for it.
Hi.
Now you want to say goodbye too.
Hi, Ezra.
Ezra, you carry on with your medicine, but you will probably be a rabbi. So, but at least you can show us all how to take care of the physical as well as, and we'll keep the spiritual alive. We'll just keep connecting. Thank you. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. So much love, everybody. Those of you who
Ezra ועינב, תודה שהייתם פה. אתם כאלה כיפים.
Thank you, Nancy, for joining us, Nancy. Mwah. Love to California.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Much love
And hello,
to everybody.
Ellen. Nice to see both you guys.
Hi, Nancy.
Mwah.
Hi.
Bye-bye, everybody. We're going to sign off now. You've been a very patient and wonderful, wonderful audience. Bye.
Bye. Bye.